Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new JJ's One Man Podcast. Hopefully, you guys have been doing all right. The year is still cooking. Everybody's still playing games, which is great. We've had some good ones come out. We have more good ones over the horizon. A couple delays here and there, so it's not a big deal. They're at least still coming out. You know what I'm saying? At least we're still getting these games. It's not like they're indefinitely delayed or pushed all the way to like the end of the year. Regardless, though, we're not talking about games per se today. We're talking more specifically about game adaptations. Why? Because The Last of Us, that's why. The Last of Us HBO show has been doing very well for a lot of people, myself included. I got a chance to watch the entire first season. Every single week when a new episode would drop, I was watching it. And to be honest with you, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good adaptation of the first Last of Us game, or The Last of Us Part 1, as it's known now at this point. It was still a pretty good adaptation of it. Had a couple instances where it was one for one with the game, and there was a couple things that were changed, but changes that made a whole lot of sense. And this is the thing I want to emphasize for this episode and this entire discussion, is that this is an example of a video game adaptation into other media, specifically into a movie or a live action TV show, a live action movie for some people as well, because we do have those animated movies for stuff like we're getting the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is an adaptation, but CGI characters, but still. In general, I'm speaking. As far as video game adaptations are concerned, The Last of Us is a prime example of how to do it right. A lot of people would say Mortal Kombat or the newer Mortal Kombat. Some people would even say the Street Fighter Legacy stuff that happened on YouTube a while back, and I get it. But this is really what I'm talking about. I feel like this is the best way to approach making a different type of project, whether it's a movie, a TV show, a short series, or a mini series or whatever, based off of a video game, going from one medium to the other. The reason why this all worked out so good is because the people that were behind it not only have a reverence for the source material, but also knew a lot about it. Like, they knew about the minutia of those stories, specifically The Last of Us, how there was a lot of specific things that made it that were directly from the game that were really important or really emotionally impactful that made it into this adaptation. I'm not going to spoil anything specific for anybody that hasn't seen The Last of Us show on HBO yet, or if you haven't gone to HBO Max and binge watched it and stuff. But if you've played the game before, a lot of those big bullet points of the game, like the big plot events, the big characters, the big pieces and exchanges of dialogue, a lot of those things made it into the show, almost exactly how they were in the game. And that's the thing that we want to see more of as gamers, as people that love this type of stuff. And we are also into movies and TV and stuff. We want to see that same level of care and reverence that was handled with this show into other adaptations as well. Now, the big thing about this, and I want to make very clear, is that The Last of Us and a couple other projects that have been done here and there and are coming very soon is really showcasing and marking a turning point for how video game adaptations are made. A couple other examples of this that I feel like weren't necessarily as good as The Last of Us as far as being an adaptation is concerned, but were also good or decently good projects that came out was the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, I would say. The newer Mortal Kombat reboot. Now, granted, some people say that it wasn't all that good with some of the characters and stuff, but as far as being a faithful adaptation of like what the atmosphere and what the whole themes and a lot of different characteristics of that series are, that new Mortal Kombat movie was really a job well done. It was really well handled. The same thing also can be said for the upcoming Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, the thing is, what we have for comparison with that movie is the one all the way done back in the like early 90s or late 80s for the Super Mario Brothers. And that was a really bad movie. That was a terrible movie with the way that it was handled. But with this one, because we're able to do things in CGI now in a much more better capacity, we could faithfully adapt not only those characters from the Super Mario Brothers universe, but also a lot of their other characteristics and other portions of the universe they reside in, whether it's the Mushroom Kingdom, whether it's the Koopa Troopas, a lot of the different characters that are all over the place in all the Mario games, a lot of the Easter eggs related to other Nintendo games and stuff that happen all the time within Super Mario Brothers. There's a lot of stuff that works out for it, but we not only have the technology, but we also have the generation and the minds that are behind these projects to really make these adaptations something special, rather than just these gimmicky throwaway stories and throwaway movies and TV series that really don't have a resonance with people, that won't really last beyond their years that they're released. And it's a shame because we have so many different things from the past that are like that. The original Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, I know a lot of people look at that as a classic, but it really is a terrible adaptation of Street Fighter. Like, it's really horrible, like terrible. The other one that a lot of people bring up too is Double Dragon. Double Dragon is a horrible adaptation of that game or of that series because it has almost nothing to do with the actual stories of the games, even though some of the characters are the same. But like a lot of the different aspects of it, just like, being a brawler and some of the characters that are just like beefy, crazy dudes and stuff, really don't make it into that movie. Like, you could point to a couple things here and there, but honestly, if you're being real honest with yourselves, it really isn't all that good. There's other movies I could bring up as well with other properties. Any Uwe Boll movie is pretty much a terrible failure. It's pretty much a horrible adaptation. I mean, look at it. Blood Rain, Postal, a lot of other people. I don't think Uwe Boll actually, directed this movie, but the King of Fighters movie and the Tekken movie, the live action King of Fighters and Tekken movies. If you've ever seen those before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because some of the characters might look like the ones that are in the game, but the story and the essence of those characters are completely fumbled. Like, they're really terrible. I mean, and I say this as someone who kind of enjoyed the Tekken movie. Because, I mean, we got Shang Tsung, the actor who played Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat, to be Heihachi Mishima. And he doesn't really fight, but he's just kind of there. And he's got the hairstyle and everything. The guy that they got to play as Jin Kazama actually kind of looks like Jin. And, other things here and there. But the point is, these are still terrible adaptations that really didn't have the mindsets behind those projects to make those be faithful adaptations or have a lot of reverence for the source material. And with The Last of Us coming out the way that it is on HBO, with the Super Mario Brothers movie coming out, and a lot of other projects as well, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, etc., these things are showing that this can be done right. This can be done well when you have the right people behind it, when you have the right mindset that is also maybe not behind the camera and maybe not in front of the camera, but the ones actually choosing the people to actually go do those projects. You got to give a lot of props to HBO for taking a chance on Neil Druckmann and the crew and some of the other people that he brought with him to make that actual show. Because think about it. Those are some of the same people that are also probably choosing others in various different streaming services, of course, not just HBO, but some of the same people that are also going around choosing people for God of War. We're also getting a Ghost of Tsushima movie from Sony PlayStation. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point down the line we see another Uncharted. Granted, a lot of people weren't really feeling Tom Holland and Nathan Drake, but still, that movie did decently well, and it was actually not that bad. It wasn't like a true, like, awesome, amazing adaptation of Uncharted because of the miscasting, in my opinion, but it was still a fun movie to go watch, so I could totally see that one getting another one. But there's others as well that I'm pretty sure many people could think of and point to. But I would love to see other games that I feel like could do well in the movie and TV realm really start to shine if they could get some of those right people in there and doing good scripts and making good, sets and stuff and really showcase the best aspects of these games. I mean, a lot of people have brought up Metal Gear Solid, with, I think it's Oscar Isaac that's actually going to be set to play, Solid Snake for the Metal Gear Solid movie. Now, again, that thing's been in limbo and like a weird spot for like the longest time, but I know his name has been floating around that for a while. The other one that people have brought up here and there obviously was Halo. Halo had a terrible adaptation because the big problem with that show is that while it did look like Halo in a couple spots, the story and the scripts were terrible. Like even the most diehard Halo fans will tell you that show was garbage. That show was not Master Chief. That was not Cortana. That was none of the freaking USNC. None of that. Even the Covenant looks kind of meh. Or at least, some of the stuff that they were doing and such. We didn't even have the Arbiter. Like, what the hell? Like, there's so much stuff that they could have done for Halo that they just fumbled that ball so badly. But I could totally see them doing a Halo movie down the line and actually really going back to that source material, or even pulling from some of the books and maybe adapting like some of the books, like The Reach or The Fall of Reach in some way. Anything like that along those natures. I know that we are getting other movies that seem a little random based on video games. I know there's a Gran Turismo movie that's happening. There's a Tetris movie that came out that's not really about the game itself. It's about the creation of the game and the business behind it. So we can't really count something like that. A lot of people that have also said that they want to see, and I've been wanting to see this for a while, not necessarily for a movie though, The Legend of Zelda. I would love The Legend of Zelda to be a series. And the reason why is because those stories in the Legend of Zelda games are so long, they're so deep, and there's so many things that you could touch on that like just limiting it to like a 2 or 3 hour movie wouldn't do it justice. If you're going to really like tell everything for like The Legend of Zelda, you're going to have to handle it like Lord of the Rings, where you have 3 movies devoted to one game. Like imagine if we got 3 movies devoted to just the story of Ocarina of Time, where it was like the child's years for the first movie, the adult years after he pulls out the Master Sword, and then like a combination of both with the temples and other stuff, leading to the end for the final movie. Like, I could totally see something like that happening and then just calling it The Legend of Zelda, like instead of just calling it Ocarina of Time, but just calling it The Legend of Zelda. Or you could do a series where you could actually do like each season will be like a different Link or a different like era in like the entire timeline of The Legend of Zelda. Like, there are things that I'm pretty sure that could be done. And obviously I'm pretty sure Nintendo's going to want to have a hand on that, which is the best thing that could be happening with the Super Mario Brothers movie, because the original Mario Brothers movie that came out was horrible. And it was really because Nintendo really didn't have a say of what was going on. Like, they just let everybody do what they wanted. Like, I'm pretty sure they could have shut the project down at any point, but they were just kind of like rolling with it. And after it did so terribly, and after it was received so terribly, they were really gone from making movies about any of their properties for decades. We all know this, but at least with them now, Miyamoto and a lot of other people at Nintendo are involved with the Mario Brothers movie that we're getting now, which is great, which is really, really cool. We love to see those creative minds that were really responsible for the creation of these things be involved in some form or fashion. That's exactly what happened to Cowboy Bebop, by the way. If you guys remember Cowboy Bebop on Netflix, the original creator of Cowboy Bebop had really nothing to do with the show. And after everything was all said and done and the second season was canceled and all that stuff, he was like, well, yeah, that whole thing wasn't Cowboy Bebop. And the fans knew it. He was the only one that really just came out and said it. And it was kind of funny, but it's totally true. So what I am hoping for, in the coming years, I could say like the next 3, maybe 5 years or so, we get more of these adaptations handled in the same fashion with the same reverence as The Last of Us, as Sonic the Hedgehog, and hopefully as the Super Mario Brothers movie. Because for all we know, the Mario Brothers movie could suck. It hasn't come out yet. I'm recording this about a month or so prior to the movie dropping. But for all we know, from the way it looks at this moment in time, it looks pretty good. So anyway, those are just my thoughts about video game adaptations into films, into TV and stuff. Let me know some of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Tell me some of your favorite video game adaptations, whether it's CG movies, live action, TV series, all this stuff. Put it all in the comments down below. Tell me the ones you also really hate, though, because I'm really curious, because some people really hate the Street Fighter movie that was from a while back, and then there's others that swear by it because of Raul Julia, because of Jean-Claude Van Damme, besides Michelle Yeoh as Chun-Li. By the way, Michelle Yeoh was responsible for your childhood. You have to thank her later. I'm just saying, right? But anyway, outside of that, okay, talk to me about all that stuff down below in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you guys leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.